I had somebody ask me today in the comments section, they said, Nick, why would you take a DNA test if you already knew what your background was? Why would you spend, I spent $69. Why would you spend money on MyHeritage to find out what you already knew? So I think that's a valid question. I want to answer that in this video. But and what inspired the original video was the fact that a lot of people will get their tests back and they're surprised by the results and they disagree with the results. Even if the results are true, they disagree with them. They'll think their whole life that their great-grandmother was half Cherokee, Native American, and then they show up 0%. Because guess what? She wasn't really Native American. You were just told that because she had a little bit of a darker complexion, and it was urban legend, but it's so common of a thing that's happening with these DNA tests. And I think also it has to do with a little bit of unspoken white guilt that a lot of people are dealing with. They want to think that they have an answer to this Native American. And I think there's some psychology going on there. Or it's something that a person always thought that they were one specific ethnicity or ethnic background, and then they weren't. Like my mom. My mom went through that. My mom almost cried the day she got, I got my results back, and it showed 0% Italian, even though her grandparents were from Italy, with Italian names and only spoke Italian, and so a lot of people, and by the way, the true answer is she took her own test. She's like 4.5% Italian, and the rest is basically West Asian, which is Iran, Iraq, Turkey, and then Sephardic Jewish, like Spanish Jewish mix, right? But that was the reality of it. We didn't know if it weren't for the test, and sure enough, she's had other family members on that side, cousins, aunts, and uncles take the test, and it backs that up. They were barely Italian, despite culturally and being from there and having everything Italian. They were a different mix. And see, my mom, after the more she looked into it, she began to accept and understand that and even celebrate the fact, okay, I still am Italian, culturally more than anything. But I'm these other things too, and I embrace that, and I'm proud of these other things that I am. But that's my question. That's my answer to your question. Why take the test if you already know the results? Well, I already knew the results, and the results weren't exactly there. They were in a different form than I realized. Everything Italian about me was really wrapped up in this other stuff. The Italian was more of just a label or a package of this Jewish Middle Eastern mix that I really was on that side. So why take a test if you already know the results? Because chances are there's still something in that test that's going to surprise you. And ultimately, I look at DNA test as a form of entertainment. For me, one of the most exciting forms of entertainment. If you've never taken a DNA test, perhaps you will live your whole life not knowing something you could have known. For me, I always speculated that there was something Jewish about us. I always speculated it. So when I found out through my mom's test that she showed 15.2% Sephardic Jewish, I can't even say that I was emotional either way about it. It was almost like, okay, there's our confirmation. Even though there was no proof of it, there was no true proof of it, other than we sensed some cultural things about how that side of the family acted that seemed Jewish. They just did, even though it was Italian. So that's why. I mean, ultimately, if you're the kind of person who doesn't care to know ultimately the actual truth and you want to live in that reality, do it, DNA tests aren't for everybody. Not everybody really cares. There's a lot of people who could care less about it, and that's okay. There's a lot of people who do care about it. And it's funny, it's so much of a big deal that way before we could afford DNA tests, on Wikipedia, you could look up any celebrity and it'd tell you, what ethnic background they were. And that's when I actually really kind of got interested in the whole concept of Jewish people in general, because I learned how many actors in movies and TV shows were Jewish. I'd see it at the bottom of the Wikipedia. I'm like, oh, really? Paul Rudd is Jewish? But he looks like he's just a normal white guy. But no, he's Jewish. That's Lisa Kudrow from Friends, the blonde one, she's Jewish. So that became fascinating. And then I was like, well, other people are fascinated by this. Now I'm fascinated, but I already know what I am. So I think I'm a perfect candidate when it comes to DNA test. because not only did it back up what I already knew on the Mexican side that from my mom, and back up the fact that my last name is Shell, and that's German, and I'm basically about a third German. So it backed up what I already knew, but then it introduces to new material. Hey, you know that Italian label you've lived with your whole life and your mom who just turned 60? Well, guess what? That's all it really was. It was more of just the container that the DNA came in. There was just, it was like, you know, when you have those lettuce wraps, you know, the Asian food where it's wrapped in lettuce, then that would be the Italian, and then everything inside of it would have been the Jewish. And that's a horrible analogy because I'm comparing Asian food to Middle Eastern and Jewish. That doesn't make sense, but you get what I'm saying. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the concept of there's good reasons to take a DNA test even if you already know what it's going to say, because there's still a good chance you're going to be surprised. I think so many people are surprised by something extra that's there, or maybe something that's not there that they assumed was there. And then you have to deal with that, like my mom did. My mom had a little bit, in my opinion, of a little bit of an identity crisis, as she thought her whole life she's half Italian as an American. And to find out she is, man, 4.5%, is that what it is? That her DNA is Sephardic, Jewish, and Middle Eastern, which that's awesome, but it's not Italian. It's not the thing she wanted. It's fun. We can learn more about ourselves, and it's easy to say, oh, well, that story about your mom, the test was wrong. If it was wrong, then so is her aunts, her cousins, and they went through different companies too. So it's legit. Okay. How has this video inspired you? What do you want to say about what I've said? Remember, what's my catchphrase? Say it with me. I'm ignorant, but I am open-minded. Put it in the comments.